So we have a second group of Moot Court folks with us today who are going to also give their insights into some of the things related to the Advanced Appellate Advocacy class and being on Moot Court, and in particular being an officer on the Moot Court Board, and also give you some more tips about those upcoming first-year lawyering skills oral arguments. So again, just to reintroduce myself, I'm Professor Anderson. I teach the Advanced Appellate Advocacy class, and I also advise the Moot Court Board. So I'm going to throw it over to our new Chief Justice.
Hi, my name is Logan Wallace. I'm a 2L, and as Professor Anderson said, I'm the new Chief Justice of the Moot Court Board.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Megan Fugate, and I am a 3L. I do not serve as an officer, but during my time on the Moot Court Board, I competed in the Civil Rights Moot Court Competition, as well as the Federal Bar Association Moot Court Competition.
Hi, my name is Dory Kennan. I'm a 2L. I just got done competing in the Asylum and Refugee Competition at UC Davis.
Hi, I'm Sarah McCluskey. I am also a 3L, and I was the former Chief Justice before giving it over to Logan. And I also competed in the Asylum and Refugee Law competition at UC Davis this year.
Yeah, so Dory and Sarah went to the same competition. Logan and Megan were going to go to the same competition, but we had that unusual situation this year where, unfortunately, some of our competitions got canceled, at least the oral argument part of it. You got to write the brief, but you didn't get to go do the oral argument. And at the end of these videos, we're going to talk a little bit about something we're going to do to make up for the fact that they did not get to do their oral arguments, and also provide those of you who are first-year students who are watching an opportunity to see what an actual competition round looks like. And so they're, I'm sure, looking forward to having a chance to at least use some of that practice that they've been accumulating for a while. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to talk a little bit more about how to sort of approach that oral argument that you have coming up in your lawyering skills class, just some tips from people who've done it before, and then a little bit more about the Advanced Appellate Advocacy class, and in particular the Intramural Moot Court Competition and what's involved with that. So I alerted them that I was going to ask a question that was similar to my prior video, but this one I'm going to frame it in just a little bit more of a, I guess, a humorous way. And Sarah's going to start off by answering this, which is there anything that if you could get yourself into a time machine and go back to when you were a first year, that you would tell your 1L self about that lawyering skills oral argument? Sarah, what do you think?
Absolutely. I think everybody should take it seriously because it is a big deal, and you do get to see other attorneys and judges. But for me, I might take things a little bit too seriously sometimes. So I would probably tell myself to try to have fun with it as well. You know, don't be so intimidated. And also to not be afraid to reach out to the Moot Court members and actually get advice, because I know as a 1L I was a little bit intimidated to reach out to people for help, but I think that the knowledge that some of us have could definitely help in that situation when you don't have a lot of exposure to that.
Does anybody else want to weigh in? What you would, if you were in that time machine, what you would tell yourself now based on, you know, what you know now and you wish you knew then?
I will. I was really nervous when I did my oral argument for lawyering skills. So I would go back and tell myself to kind of just take a breath and know that this is also everyone else's first time doing an oral argument. So don't psych yourself out thinking that you're going to be so bad because you've never done this before, because neither has anyone else. And it's really not that bad.
Megan, do you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I agree. I remember back to mine, how nervous I was, and it's something that I've built on throughout my time in Moot Court. And so if I could go back and just remind myself to stay confident, I would forget that I tend to know the material a lot more than the judges. and you've been working on this problem for a long time. And granted, every now and again, you will get an expert judge who happens to know your material really well, but just don't sell yourself short, and remember to be confident, and you know more than you think you know.
Good. Logan, you had a chance to talk about that yesterday, but I wondered if you had anything else you wanted to add.
I'll just reiterate what I said yesterday about it. Like, kind of bouncing off of what Sarah said, we're all huge nerds about this type of stuff. So don't feel afraid to reach out to any of us or to ask any questions, because we've probably been in your exact position. We know the answer to what you're looking for, or we can help you find what you're looking for, especially if it's like an oral argument tip or if it's like a researching tip. I'm sure that one of us can help you or assist you in some way, shape, or form with that.
Okay. Well, those all sound like good things. Yes, do take advantage. You have a pool of folks. Now, I know Megan is a teaching assistant for one of the sections of lawyering skills. The other person who's the other section has a teaching assistant, Garrett McDowell. He's also on the Moot Court Board. And so I believe there's going to be an opportunity for you all to coordinate and help out a little bit in terms of giving you an opportunity to get some practices in. So yeah, take advantage of that. I would just add that even if a judge seems like they're cranky and mean and their questions seem like they're confrontational, they're probably just play acting, and they just want to see if you can answer, and so they give you a lot of credit just for making the effort. So when you get that first question, just say, all right, I've got an answer for that. I'm just going to answer it and not really overthink it. Just answer. That's my advice. Okay, so rest of this part of the video, let's talk a little bit more about the Advanced Appellate Advocacy class. In some other videos, we talked about what it is. It's a class that teaches you how to do persuasive writing. It's about appellate advocacy, but it's really about learning how to be a persuasive writer that you can translate to other kinds of writing. But we haven't talked that much about the intramural competition. And I think it's worth repeating what that's about. So Dory, you want to talk a little bit about your participation in the intramural competition, what you did and how you found a partner for it?
Yeah, sure. So the intramural competition is everyone who's in the AAA class participates in the competition. It's just like how any oral argument competition would go, like in Moot Court. You compete with a partner, and then you go up against other teams, whether you're the plaintiff or the respondent, or the petitioner or the respondent. And so I found a partner because there was a group of 4 of us that were kind of talking about taking the class, and 2 of us happened to actually take it. And we walked into class together and we're like, hey, you want to be our partner? And she said yes, I said yes, and it worked out really well because I had already known her, and we kind of already had that communication, and we talked all the time. If you didn't know someone going into the class, I would just suggest reaching out to people and just kind of asking around and seeing who you would want to be with. It's really not that bad as long as you can communicate. It wasn't terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what about the rest of you? How did you guys go about finding a partner?
I would add that for me, it was easy because a friend of mine took the class with me. So I had a partner already picked over the summer, but I would also add to reach out to the Chief Justice, who is keeping track of the partnerships, because they can absolutely help pair you up with people if you decide to take the class later on, or if your partner drops out. Be sure to reach out to him because he will be able to help guide you and kind of pair you up if you need to.
Yeah, that's an important point. So you actually want to start thinking about finding the partner now. I think when Dory said walked into class, I don't think she meant the AAA class. I think she meant another class. They happened to walk in together and say, hey, let's be partners as they were getting ready to register for the class, for classes for the next semester. So you want to start thinking about it now because the problem comes out in July, and you want to start working on the brief part of it. The brief is due, a rough draft of the argument section is due the second week of classes. and then the full brief is due the week after that. So it's something that you need to start on about the same time you would start law journal if you were going to try out for law journal, doing the write-on for that. And you want to have in mind who it is you're going to work with, because you have to have a partner in order to get the problem and start on that. And so speaking of that, Logan, would you talk a little bit about any tips that you have about getting that brief written in the summertime, like I just mentioned?
Yes. So I think the overwhelming, very obvious, it may seem, but highly overlooked tip is start on it when you receive it, because you have the entire summer from when you get it all the way until classes start, where you don't have class. You have the time to use at your disposal. I mean, you may have a summer job, but that is a lot of time that you don't have spread out like you will during the semester to work on it. And as Professor Anderson has said, it's due very quickly into your first semester back. So it's not something that you want to wait until 2 days before to start, because it's no small matter. And like we've discussed, when you work with another person, I mean, it's not always the easiest thing to work with someone else, but when you do it, you have to mix your schedules together. You have to make things work out. You do part of it, they do part of it. So you have to use your time while it's available to you, because otherwise it'll get to be a very cramped few weeks at the start of the semester, and you could be in for a rough time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Does anybody else have anything to add on that?
I will, and say, just along with starting early, you don't have to spend like 6 hours working on it at one time. I know I broke it up, and me and Olivia worked on ours probably about 20 minutes a day for a week, and then we would take a break for a little bit, and then we'd go back and say, this is what we need to research, and this is how we want to write it. So you don't have to spend like hours upon hours at one time. You can break it up and it still be fine.
Yes, so we actually release it in the middle of July in order to give you a lot of time to do that, so that you have, I think, longer than most of you guys had for writing your briefs when you were in competition, right? So I think it's like 6 or 7 weeks or something in that range that we give you to do that. And then that's basically because we know summers are busy and you've got other things to do. And as Dory says, you can break it up into little pieces, and it's easier if you just work on it a little bit all the time. Or frequently anyway, not all the time. The other thing about it is that it's only graded, it's not graded, it's graded pass-fail. In other words, you have to complete it and you have to do at least a good faith job of completing it, but you don't actually get a grade for it. So it doesn't have the grade pressure. Instead, we use it as part of your score when we determine who moves on to the elimination rounds in the Moot Court tournament itself. So it matters. That's why they say take it seriously, right? But it isn't something that you have to worry about. You're going to get a grade right away at the beginning of the semester, because that's not going to happen. So does anybody else have any other comments or thoughts or advice that you'd like to give anybody about taking AAA or doing the intramural competition before we sign off on this video?
I had one more quick one. I just thought I'd throw on there. If you do Moot Court, you'll have a lot of problems that are confusing. Like the one that we had for the Fed Bar this semester was a very complex issue. And don't be afraid to just put your question into Google and Google it, because that right there can set you off. And like, if you don't know where the problem's going, just give it a quick Google, because then you'll know more about it going into than reading into the problem, and you'll have much better understanding going into it. Because you don't have to punish yourself and try and hit a wall. So if you can do something to make it easier, you might as well do it.
Yeah, I can endorse that. I often give the advice that the best place to start, read the problem, but then the best place to start isn't the cases, it's the people who've talked about that topic, the people who've written commentary on that topic, because it helps you get perspective. So I think that's good advice. Lots of good advice generally. Okay, so there we go. We encourage you to think confidently about your oral arguments that are coming up. Take it seriously, but not too seriously, and start thinking about finding a partner who will do the intramural competition with you. And then once you know that partner, email it to Logan, because he wants to know. All right.